Yeah, Smite absolutely has been a big deal for what allows his Hunter to find some wins. Game number 3, however, this is a best of 5. So if Valorous want to see themselves extending this set, they do have to win. This is a must-win by all definitions of the term. ISURUS, on the other hand, things look pretty easy for them so far.
Yeah, I've been speaking as if Valorous have already lost, and I really hope that's not the case. I'm putting this down to land nerves, and they're going to come back strong. But right now, from those 2 games, it's really hard not to say that ISURUS just seem like they're on a level above. You know, they just feel like they are better players, and I don't want to say that. So I really hope that Valorous come out swinging here, and they get that same lead they have, and they build it smart, and they really play to their strengths, because that's all they need to do. They're getting off to a good start, which can often be the hardest thing to do against a good team. And they've just got to keep that lead, keep sensible, and drive it home.
Mechanically, ISURUS do seem a bit more sound than Valorous, and it's been a great display by them all around on their team, just coming together as a whole unit. But Valorous just has those 1 or 2 shining moments at the start, and then their over-aggression just, I can't say it enough, it just leads to their demise. And I would really just want them to slow down the pacing of the game. If they get the early lead, great. If they don't, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be ahead from the start of a game in order to win it. You can play it out for the team fights. You can play it out for the mid to late. There's nothing wrong with playing around a composition.
Well, Valorous this time around will first pick the Sylvanus. The Hunbats and Chang'e bans coming out from Valorous. I think the Hunbats ban is absolutely essential. I do not have an issue with that whatsoever. I think that's the right move. ISURUS ban out Zeus and Serket. Sylvanus with the first pick. You're shaking your head. How do you feel?
I'm worried that I don't know Valorous' pick and ban strategy. I don't know the history, so this is obviously just a very quick reflection, but I'm worried that they might be picking the Sylvanus just to take it away from ISURUS because they can't afford the ban. Sure. And I feel that that's a trap that a lot of teams fall into. They don't play their own style, and if Sylvanus is not one of their picks, if they are not as good as Daelon is on it, then this could cause trouble, because Sylvanus is a very easy god to die on.
There's that Zhong. We saw it banned out last time. This time we'll actually get to see it played, and it'll be paired up with a Skadi. Skadi, Sylvanus in the long lane, and Zhong likely to be there in the mid lane, but we'll take a look. Whereas ISURUS across the way, they've got a Cabrakan and a Cernunnos.
He has a lot of stones to pick Skadi into Cabrakan, I'm gonna be honest.
It's not even that for me. We've seen Fragger destroying on Medusa and Hui now.
Yeah.
And giving him a hunter like Cernunnos, who has so much pressure. We didn't get to see it when we saw FORZA trying to play it, but the issue that I think that he could encounter facing off with Skadi Cernunnos is Cernunnos has mobility. He has a lockdown already with his 2, and not to mention that his ultimate is incredibly hard for a Skadi to escape from.
Ooh.
And with the way that he's been playing today, add an Odin cage to that, you're not looking for a fun time.
Skadi's in trouble.
Yeah.
Skadi's in trouble.
This is a real team comp for Valorous to kind of... This is them to prove themselves, you know. They've been punished for hyper-aggressive, for pushing their lead too far, too soon. And the comp that they're against now, Cabrakan, Odin, Cernunnos, all those characters are very, very good at shutting down that aggression and punishing it. So they really need to take the lesson and reel it in and play it smart if they want to get out of this one.
Comfort picks seem to be the theme for Valorous, for the Bakasura ban to be coming through by ISURUS. That goes to show that they don't want to permit Valorous to have any of that early cheesy sort of invade potential, such as what they've been running at the start to get the initial kill lead.
Yeah, zByRocKk likes that Bakasura, a lot of invades obviously, and in this invade meta type, if you will, a lot of success has come out. I mean, like I said, Valorous is the #2 team. They're here for a reason. This is the Latin American Finals, and what could be the final game of such a set. Vulcan and Thoth banned out by Valorous, as Kha'Zix, one of the stronger players on ISURUS, still has a pick.
I do have to say that for Valorous, it really feels like zByRocKk hasn't had a chance to play more to his comfort in that sense that he's mostly been trying to adapt to what his team composition and what he feels the draft is missing. But I think that if he leans more towards his actual potential, because he has a lot of mechanical prowess as a jungler himself, we just haven't really had a chance to see it between the overcommitments and just the general fall behind that his team becomes victim to because of that too much too soon.
Yeah, zByRocKk and Chetaah are the 2 hard carries on this team, Valorous. They're the ones that have been very successful throughout the regular season. And zByRocKk, specifically him, is very aggressive, which is why he does have a pick like Bakasura up his sleeve, so much so that ISURUS has to go ahead and ban it out. I'm curious if we're going to see the Arlong Shen though here in the short lane, the solo lane for Chetaah. That's one of his go-to selections here against the Odin. How do you think it would fare?
It's definitely a risky balance in solo. I feel a lot of the characters that punish Odin very hard in lane are the ones who also kind of get screwed by the cage in team fights. So ensuring that you get that lead against Odin, if it is solo Odin, is really, really a big deal, you know? And he needs to be careful for that, because if he picks ISURUS into a Nike and loses, and he does the same thing against an Odin, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, and he's just going to die, you know?
Not to mention, he already has 3 teammates who can't escape the Odin ring as is. So a Phantom is going to be pretty dependent as far as Valorous is concerned. Whether or not they choose to lean towards that route is like an entirely different story, but I would prefer to see them lean towards the early Phantom even, because at the moment, ISURUS has so much pressure that it wouldn't matter at what stage of the game they chose to initiate those fights. They would more than likely see themselves as the victors towards them, especially facing off against the Zhong.
If ISURUS decides to put the Odin in support, then that Phantom is also going to cause a lot of problems, because Sylvanus needs it, Skadi needs it, and typically they're the characters who can't afford to get it. You know, it's usually the solo laner who falls to it, and that's something that they've got to be really prepared for, because if it's solo, they can they can punish both those characters very easily.
I really like both the Bastet and the Amaterasu selections here. I kind of think that Valorous' team, one more time, just like in game number 2, drafted themselves in a corner, and they kind of really didn't have much anything cohesive going on. It was just picks. I think the Bastet and the Amaterasu are strong selections. Bastet obviously can dance with Odin, but more importantly can provide some of that poke in and out, which is why ISURUS select the Ra to make that poke kind of irrelevant. So Valorous gave it a shot, but ultimately I think ISURUS has just been dominating these picks and ban phases. They've looked so good.
Yeah, Noz is raw as well. We're going to see a run back of this. So looking at this, I feel like based on the previous performances and the draft, I feel like ISURUS have just outdrafted them once again, and it's going to be probably a shutout.
Exact same feelings over here. That it's so mutual between the two of us. So I really don't like Valorous's choices of like Bastet, and there's just not enough damage, I feel, as far as burst is concerned, to really compensate against the Cabrakan and Odin, and then the raw heal on top of that. It's just not looking too hot.
Yeah, I had hopes for the Bastet before we saw the heal come in, but with Ra, Nozix's claim to fame might be a little troublesome. Valorous trying to stretch us to a game number 4, while ISURUS tries to clean this up in just 3. It's Anatoly and Aggro.
Hey there, thanks for getting us right this time. Though I saw your tweet and you're right, with the stand it does look like, you know, from the distance. You know? But you're looking good today, Tully. I like the classic matchup there of the red and the blue. Classic matchup here between ISURUS and Valorous, especially when Nozix is on his Ra. I've been waiting for this, Tully. It took us 3 games, but I'm ready for some snipes.
You know, we saw some Toth, but now we're going to see some Ra, the other chicken god out of the Egyptian pantheon. So Valorous, they're going to be finding ways to try to shut down the Ra. They have the backline dive potential with the Bastet and the Amaterasu, not to mention Zhong is going to be running at full speed at you, but you're also going to have to be dealing with this Odin that's going to try to cage you down along with the Cabrakan.
Without a doubt, tons of lockdown on ISURUS, and Susano gets to pick number 4. Before we see him, and we haven't seen him at all the first 2 games. Surprised at this assassin that absolutely dominated the gauntlet. Really, we haven't seen a lot of until right now.
You know, we're still on patch 4.6. This is a LAN server being played by these 2 teams, and this is the time where this Susano is still getting the benefits of that hi-rez Lament. You're able to squeeze in an in-hand in between every single strike of that Storm Kata.
With just a ton of damage, a ton of mobility, a ton of CC as well. Susano can really do it all out of the jungle. Daelon this time around on the Odin, he played Sylvanus the first 2 games. This is also an early game-esque sort of feel, but certainly different when it comes to the mid to late stages than the Sylvanus.
Absolutely, and this is just how the meta shifts within best of 3s and best of 5 sets. It was actually Daelon that get the Sylvanus early on in the draft, but this time ISURUS was doing, or Valorous rather, did a good job first picking it, taking that option away. They didn't want to deal with the pulls or the roots, the obnoxious Wrath of Terrors that set up the rest of the members out of ISURUS. So that forces Daelon into a situation where he's thinking about ways to counter the Sylvanus, and what better god than an Odin support that's going to trap him in, prevent the healing, and prevent anyone from assisting him as well.
But I'm looking at Fragger this time around for ISURUS. He's had a great game, as has Smitero, who finds the first blow on the right-hand side onto zByRocKk, an early lead this time for ISURUS. That's the first time we've been able to say that, Tolly. Every other lead has gone to Valorous in the early game.
And that's on the Susano. This god thrives off of the early lead and the advantage. The speed buff not available for zByRocKk, and that's going to be an early level 4 for Smiteero, so that means that Typhoon is going to be available before the kiddies out of this Bastet.
Look at the relic choices here by ISURUS. No purification beads at level 1. If anyone's going to want those, it's going to have to wait until level 12. 3 Aegis amulets coming out, and as you look at Valorous's lineup, there isn't a lot of hard CC, specifically hard CC from a distance or instant CC. You have to try and use your Aegis early on against the dazzling offense from Chetaah, but that's pretty well telegraphed. You don't have to worry about that too much.
And it makes sense to try to go for this Aegis because of all the damage over time coming out of Valorous, right? You have the Bastet, you have the Zhong, Sylvanus, Wrath of Terra, and healing is going to add it to boot as well. But there's not too much stun potential. Adobin on the Zhong has to get really close to you to find the stun, and if he's going to commit to be that close to you anyway, then you're going to be in position to take all the incoming damage anyway. So it's the best possible choice out of the Susano jungler.
Absolutely. And he also has a mobility to get out of any CC that could be hitting him as well. That not only his multiple movement abilities, but the fact that his passive is that he gets extra movement speed whenever his abilities are on cooldown. So Smiteero can continue to have a big impact on this game. As I was about to say before, that first blood on the right-hand side, he's had a great set, but as has Fragger. And Cernunnos was picked early, first picked from Valorous in Game 1, but FORZA never really got a chance to shine in that one. This time around, we may see the real potential coming out of this god as Valorous start up the Gold Fury, using those kitties to their advantage. Gold Fury is going to be snuck away here. Valorous recoup a little bit of that loss from the first blood that ISURUS got on the right-hand side and put themselves about 500 gold in the lead.
Using that Bastet beautifully, the kitties mechanics, being able to absorb the damage from the Gold Fury. Now, the ban coming out of ISURUS, it didn't make sense to the people that don't understand the scene. Valorous are known to pick Bakasura in conjunction with the Zhong. You cripple people down, and then you look for the ghosts to be able to find the kills. Not only that, you can do with Bakasura what we just saw out of zByRocKk there. You throw all those minions to absorb the damage from the Gold Fury, making it that much easier to secure the objective. And in Season 4, with Gold Fury being more valuable, this is a great early start for Valorous.
Speed buff invade from ISURUS on this right side, though. zByRocKk doesn't have that ultimate, but I don't know if ISURUS know that it's on cooldown. Speed buff already aggressed on, and it does go down in favor of ISURUS. Jump in the mid lane onto Adobin, but not a lot of damage there. He's going to be able to escape underneath this tier 1 tower.
Trying to potentially bait out some cooldowns. Didn't even commit to the full bird bomb. Just jumps on in, expecting to get fully engaged on. Has that shield available to absorb some of the incoming damage. And Adobin now sitting at level 6, still 1 level behind. ISURUS is doing a decent amount of work here in that solo jungle side with the speed buff invades, just not letting zByRocKk truly breathe some fresh air.
Wind Siphon just a little bit too late as zByRocKk is able to pounce up and over that wall, but those fire elementals do go the way of ISURUS, who seem to be getting the majority of these objectives in the jungle outside of that lone Gold Fury that was snuck away by Valorous. This is the Latin American Regional Championship. ISURUS has won the first 2 games. This is a best of 5, so if they find one more victory, they'll be moving on to play later today up against the Black Dragons. Our next set, though, that's going to be Energy versus LG Direwolves. Certain to be an interesting one to watch. Excited to see what the Australians can do. But first, we got to see ISURUS if they can close it out here against Valorous.
Haven't really talked about this matchup in the solo lane. Chetaah on the Amaterasu versus Beltway's Cabrakan. Cabrakan still has a good amount of CC, able to really control the laning phase. And despite Amaterasu being able to silence out the Tremors, now you're being really close to the Cabrakan. That's what the Cabrakan really wants to do. He pops a steroid, he's going to damage you out, and before Chetaah really gets his items to be able to spam those stance switches, you're not going to be able to effectively outtrade Beltway, considering he has Mark of the Vanguard.
Valorous has done a good job of stabilizing in this game. Both teams, both the first 2 games where a team got a lead, it was Valorous the first 2. These teams seem to want to play slow until zByRocKk has already used his pounce, and Daelon jumps right on top with that cage. Kha'Zix does hit the snipe, but it's Daelon who's in trouble, but Smiteero finds zByRocKk with that Typhoon. Cleans up that kill in the mid lane. Both kills thus far are picked up by Smiteero onto zByRocKk. 2-0 to 0-2.
No hesitation from Daelon. The jump was down from zByRocKk, caging in that Bastet without an early Phantom to get away from that Odin cage and limiting all the healing. Atarban's meditation and Wisps are essentially useless.
Exactly, that cage, that counter pick coming from Daelon certainly paying dividends early on here for ISURUS. As I was about to say, these teams seem to like to play the early game pretty slow, but as per usual, as soon as you say something like that, the players make you eat your words, so ISURUS pick up number 2 early on in this game.
It's the Cass's curse, I'm telling you, but either way, ISURUS still on the kill score lead, but not on the Gold Fury side of things. Recognizing this, though, ISURUS going to try to look for some aggressive warding, positioning that around the bottom left side mid-Harpies, recognizing that Gold Fury is about to respawn in a minute, and this is something that you can't allow a team to use to their advantage. Whenever you have the Bastet, there's always that threat of the backdoor protection or maybe sneaking away the Gold Fury. Doesn't eliminate the backdoor protections of towers, but you're able to really still get a lot of chip damage on these towers in the later stages of the game.
I like this adjustment that Valorous has made. In the first 2 games, ISURUS was dominating the ward vision on the left-hand side in particular. This time, it's Valorous who have the majority of the wards on the left. Not only does it open up the opportunity for them to get that Gold Fury early on in this game, but it also keeps FORZA safe on that left side. Fragger has not been able to get a lead for himself this time around. First time we can say that in this set. This could be the opportunity for FORZA to really shine in this game. Though he did do a lot of damage in the last one, just wasn't able to really get off the ground.
Not at all. The Oracles does get in the way of Valorous, though, finding the knock-up, a lot of damage. Smitero taking an early spill here, 2-1 thus far. Still doesn't have the Hydra's Lament finished quite yet, and that could potentially open the door for the Gold Fury, but 4 ultimates were used here on the side of Valorous just for that 1 kill.
Chetaah had to use his to survive on the right, but you're right, the 3 ultimates just to find the kill on the Smitero in the mid there. Is that worth it for Valorous at this stage?
Well, considering it's a very early respawn for Smitero, I wouldn't be surprised if ISURUS starts to make the rotation back around the Gold Fury and even just straight up force the Gold Fury fight. You have the cage to be able to lock down so many members out of Valorous that Typhoon will synergize very well with it, considering how wide it becomes as it grows in size, and not to mention the knockup. So there's a lot of crowd control for ISURUS, and without all these ultimates from Valorous, this is a huge timing window that ISURUS can easily exploit.
That's true, and the fact that the Gold Fury secure for Valorous is not nearly as good as that of ISURUS. That Searing Pain coming out of Kha'Zix is the best Gold Fury secure that either team has at this stage in the game, or really at any throughout the rest of the game. So the objective control could certainly go the way of ISURUS if they decide to try and force it, but those ultimates are going to be up off cooldown very, very shortly. So it looks like that window of opportunity that you were talking about may have already closed for ISURUS.
Daelon was looking for the potential jump in, but rotating towards the left side. Not able to really find anything, walking over some wards here and there. Daelon gets spotted out by that bottom left sentry ward out of Valorous, but he's still looking for it. He's hiding around the left side mid-Harpies. This is what you're trying to do as a support, whether or not you're playing Odin, Bacchus, any character with a leap. This is the spot you want to be at.
I like this positioning from Jadobin, though. He knows that Daelon is lurking in that jungle, waiting for him to step up a little bit too far, and so instead sits underneath his tower and allows Daelon to just go back to base. 2-1 right now. ISURUS up in kills and in gold, but not by much, about 300 gold in the lead. The experience difference is really only notable on that right-hand side. You can see the solo, jungle, and mid all have about a level up on their opposition.
Not really looking for more invades as ISURUS. They found that early kill onto zByRocKk and then found that early steal on the speed, but has kind of left that lane alone, recognizing that the Gold Fury is going to be that huge, important point of contention, especially considering that Valorous got that early 3.5-minute Gold Fury using those kitties.
I agree with you. I think that the identification that Gold Fury is vulnerable at all stages, definitely a smart one thus far from ISURUS. Chetaah has been continually bullied on this right-hand side, though, Toli, and Beltway on this Cabrakan. Normally we say Amaterasu is going to be the one to make the bigger impact in the team fights, the aura, the CC, the fact that she's so mobile, but Cabrakan brings so much in those mid to late game team fights that I don't know if that's necessarily the case this time around.
Just has so many protections, has the passive aura to mitigate a lot of damage for himself and his teammates, has that Mark of the Vanguard to basically limit that Bluestone pendant coming out of Chetaah, the damage over time from both Zhong and the Bastet. So he's going to make his presence really known, especially going for that blink in his second relic slot, diving Cabrakan in the backline. It's going to be a world of pain for Jadobin.
And Valorous doesn't have a lot of leaps to get out of that Cabrakan ultimate either. FORZA, JAdobin, even Atarban on the Sylvanus. Definitely a lot of lockdown potential if Beltway can find the right ultimate.
Especially before the Phantoms come online for Valorous. The question is who is going to elect to pick that up. Is it going to be Chetaah or Atarban? But Sylvanus still looking for that hot level 12 to get that second relic. Sovereignty online for Atarban, but going for the Hardware Amulet instead is Daelon.
Interesting choice there coming out of Daelon to not go for the Sovereignty up against the early damage from the Bastet. Zhong, his damage comes a little bit later on. zByRocKk going to take a lot of damage, and Smite follows him with that 3, but the Typhoon doesn't hit, but the cage is waiting, and Nozzix finds the snipe on the Raw. Instead, decides to retreat into the cage to make sure that JAdobin's ghosts can't reach him. Beltway is here and locks down the mid laner. Fragger picks up his first kill of the game. Chetaah and FORZA only have to watch as the rest of ISURUS comes screaming down the jungle.
Shield for Daelon, buying a lot of time. Skadi controlling a lot of space with that Ice Ring. FORZA forced to go in the Aegis. Beltway finding Chetaah down the mid lane. It's going to be an actual deicide, and ISURUS yet again just non-stop action in these team fights, taking advantage of zByRocKk that jumped very aggressively, chasing him out of position, and once he had to pounce back, that's when Daelon commits the ultimate, and with that amount of control with the cage and the rings, Jadobin couldn't get into the team fight with his ultimate.
ISURUS just seems to team fight better than Valorous. That seems to be the big takeaway thus far. I don't know the last time that Valorous had a team fight that went even. They had that one good one in game 2 around the left side mid-Harpies, but they still went down 3-2 in that team fight. ISURUS' team fight just seems to be so good, and so maybe Valorous should look to split the map to try and make sure that they're taking outnumbered engagements, because these 5-on-5s, 4s-on-4s, not working out for them.
Not at all, and zByRocKk with his so many deaths. 3 deaths thus far. It's looking like it's going to be his 4th one as Beltway gets credited with that one. Chetaah cannot get there in time to get that movement speed, or that could have potentially saved zByRocKk's life.
And this is just what happens in that solo lane sometimes, where you're even, Beltway's a little bit ahead, and then he makes one teleport and he makes the bigger impact, and all of a sudden he's up 3 levels on you in that solo lane. Now it's ISURUS up about 4,000 gold, but the experience difference is the big one there, almost 8,000 XP above Valorous.
Nice little pull from Atarban. The cage comes out of Daelon. Typhoon being used. Wrath of Terror finds out too, but Daelon just jumps away. No real casualties, and both teams just going to utilize some of their sustain.
And this is what ISURUS does so well. They're comfortable with this raw pick. They played it at Worlds and looked great doing it. FORZA in trouble. Doesn't have any relics here, but no Searing Pain available for Nozzix Meditation. Going to keep FORZA healthy enough. On top of those wisps, FORZA going to be right there back to about full HP. But again, ISURUS knows how to use these sustain comps very, very well. We saw them use it with Daelon on the Sylvanus, and now this time Nozzix on the Raw. Very, very comfortable in this sort of poke, poke, poke. We'll back up and heal better than you can, because that raw heal is much more potent than that of Sylvanus.
And there's no natural anti-healing coming out of Valorous. They have to invest into Brawler's Beatstick coming out of zByRocKk. Now, granted, it works well with his kit finding the penetration, but hold that thought. It's just they're trying to get this Portal Demon, diving the backline as Chetaah, finding the stun onto one. Still, though, getting controlled by the Tremors.
JAdobin's the only one on this Portal Demon until Smite comes in and steals it away as ISURUS are able to take away the Portal Demon. Smite finds JAdobin as well. Nozzix may have gotten that objective with the snipe. Beltway finds the kill onto Chetaah, and the rest of Valorous have to run as ISURUS not only take the kills, but the objective as well.
There's just too much disconnect out of Valorous, wanting to commit to the Portal Demon, but they're not done yet. ISURUS Gaming, they found 2, but they want more. They're a greedy little bunch.
It's only Atarban who's going to fall here. No, actually, FORZA gets jumped on. Beltway showed up out of nowhere. He's in a lot of trouble underneath that tier 2 tower. Aegis saves his life for the moment, but Nozzix is going to be able to clean it up. JAdobin has now respawned, but zByRocKk was the only survivor there for Valorous. 12-1 now. ISURUS looks dominant once more.
Greed pays off this time for ISURUS, but we got to talk about the greed from Jadobin trying to hold on to that Portal Demon earlier on. That actually allowed Nozzix to get back into position to use that Searing Pain to do a lot of damage and even secure that Portal Demon. That's a huge, like you're talking about earlier here, Aggro, that one ability is higher damage burst potential than any other ability here in this game.
It's zByRocKk again in trouble in that mid lane. Look at how much damage Fragger just did to Jadobin as well. ISURUS has now really blown this game wide open. This was close for a while, but one team fight, the Deicide, the Gold Fury, has set ISURUS up to do things like this. Smitero finds the kill underneath the tier 1 tower after the lockdown from Beltway pulled back in and controlled, but Smitero's the one who's in trouble. It is going to be the death onto Jadobin, but FORZA returns the kill onto Smitero.
The pounce is down, nowhere to go. zByRocKk uses the Aegis to avoid the Bird Bomb combination. Chetaah, though, and Fragger gets that kill, and that's going to be a 3-for-1 after the tier 1 mid tower takes a spell. Chetaah making the rotation. Could look for that dazzling offense, but you don't really want to commit to it against an Odin with a jump.
And the shield, and he's level 13,
and
too
he's
tanky,
taunting.
and he's taunting you, so you really don't want to commit in that scenario. ISURUS once again get away with being up in kills and up in the objective category as well. Tier 1 tower at mid fell there for Valorous, and Fragger comes around the back, finds the route onto FORZA. He's already done. Fragger cleans up his 4th kill. Beltway is back. The teleport puts him in the perfect position to punish Chetaah, who does return the kill onto Fragger, but will fall in the end to Beltway.
Atarban trying to save his solo laner, gets stunned out. Double stun, the Tremors, so much damage out of Nozzix, forced into the Wrath of Terror. Unfortunate miss out of Searing Pain, but it doesn't matter when you have a Cabrakan.
And Jadobin pulled back in once more. Susano just too much for the mid lane mage to handle. Nozzix finds his 5th kill of the game, 19-3. ISURUS up about 7,000 gold, and that's before this Gold Fury. It looks like they're likely to take their 2nd of the game.
Trickling down one by one. Valorous just can't seem to group up accordingly. You know, it's a nice little flank from Fragger. He did sacrifice his life after killing FORZA, but it still bought enough time where Chetaah had to overcommit just to find the kill, and the rest of the teammates from ISURUS grouped up, chased everybody down, and without the mobility that Chetaah provides for his team with that aura, there's just no escaping the true domination out of this Latin American team, ISURUS.
So if you're Black Dragons and you're watching this set, it looks likely that you're going to be facing ISURUS later on today. What are your big takeaways against this team?
No Ra. No Ra for Nozzix.
He's only played it once, though, Toli.
That's one too many times. You know, we saw what he was able to do with it against Team Allegiance. He's just been an absolute force to be reckoned with. And not only that, the Susano from Smitero, you know, despite getting off to slow starts in the game number 1 and 2, as we saw Beltway taking an early spill, on the Susano, it's a totally different story. He gets off to an early lead, and he just doesn't let go of it.
Though zByRocKk has done a better job of farming this game. He's 1-5-1, yes, but still only a level down from Smitero. In that jungle, something to be said about keeping pace in terms of levels. Fragger gets hit with the flank coming out of zByRocKk, but he's going to turn it around onto the jungler, who takes more damage than he gave out. Atarban finds multiple with that knockup, but it's only because they were surrounding him and then put him down immediately after that. Look at the score lines from ISURUS. 6 kills, 5 kills, 5 kills. Daelon with 0, as he seems to do. I've never seen a support who gets less last hits than Daelon in these 3 games, despite being in all the action, basically. And then Fragger with 4. This is just telling you how spread out the talent is here for ISURUS.
Or how over-aggressive that Valorous can be in their own individual lanes. In the mid lane, though, nice little blink from Beltway, finding the kill onto the mid Zhong Kui, but taking the spill with all that damage over time. Smitero.
Oh, Beltway finds the 2-man lockdown. The snipe from Nozzix wasn't there in time, but he doesn't even need the help. Beltway finds his 8th kill, 8-0 and 11 right now for the solo laner. Chetaah does find Nozzix on the backside, a little bit too low to get away from the solo laner. but Atarban again just locked in the wrong spot.
2 tanks trying to kill out 1 tank, but in the backside, Fragger with the flank, forcing out the Aegis out of zByRocKk. Nice little slow to stop Daelon from finding the chase. Chetaah, he got the kill on Xenozix in the mid lane, now making the rotation in the solo, trying to get any sort of farm that he can. Now grouped up with this Amaterasu, that mobility will get her into safety.
Daelon thought about trying to hit the bird bomb there, but missed it. The cats came out immediately from zByRocKk. Chetaah tanking this tower, and Daelon doesn't have a jump. Over-aggressive has been Valorous' term so far this set, but Daelon takes a turn of his own, his first death of the game, and Valorous take that opportunity to take the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side as well.
A slight hiccup for ISURUS. This is what happens when you don't play off of each other. You start going in one by one. You know, you look for a play here, a flank there, then all of a sudden you're losing your tier 1 solo tower along with your support, and that 20-second window could give the potential for Valorous to go for this Portal Demon into Fire Giant, but actually it was ISURUS that during that downtime snuck it away from themselves.
Just waiting until the enemy tried to come and contest, because even if they did, as we've mentioned, Kha'Zix has the best secure available in this draft for both teams, and ISURUS was feeling confident enough, and can't say I blame them. We're 22 minutes in, 23-6 read the kills. ISURUS dominant so far, basically this entire set. They're also up that dreaded 10,000 gold.
At the 22-minute mark, things are looking really dicey for Valorous to be able to come back from this game and then have to win 2 more games in a reverse sweep in this best-of-5 set. Is not looking like a very shiny, bright day for the side of Valorous.
A tall task, without a doubt, for Valorous, but they've gotten themselves here, and so you know they've got the talent to do so. Fire Giant has been started by ISURUS, but instead they peel off and look for the fight. We did see in Game 1 a very rough Fire Giant pull. It ended up working out for ISURUS, but we know their objective control could use a little bit of work in that sense. Beltway tries to control the enemy, and there's the lockdown onto Atarban. The knockup is good from him, but Fragger is able to find the kill. Smitero falls quickly to Chetaah, but Fragger picks up his double. The snipe is beautiful there from Kha'Zix. The triple kill there from Fragger, trying to chase down FORZA. One more hit needed for his quadra, but can't quite find the route across the wall. Kha'Zix gets the kill onto JAdobin. FORZA trying to get the cheeky back and does so successfully, but I don't think it's going to matter in the end. ISURUS find 4 in that engagement. Triple kill for the Hunter, and now the objective is next on his mind.
That would have been the last nail in the coffin if FORZA had fallen there, and would have been a nice thematic ending to the way Valorous have been playing these team fights. But either way, 4 for 1 essentially. Smitero sacrificing his life for that greater good. Fire Giant now being secured on the side of this team that has 2 games under their belt thus far, and they're looking to close it out with his 3rd one.
That was almost a pentakill, Tully. FORZA was, he got the triple. Both members were very low. If he's able to find that route, maybe he can find it.
So if he actually had Fatalis, he'd be able to chase down these kills. The damage coming out of this Skadi has been there, but I'm looking at Fragger's side, and he's been going for a more aggressive style as well. Neither of these hunters have been going for the Fatalis, and as a result, Fragger on the Cernunnos has just been avoided of a pentakill.
Very, very close, but I'm not sure he's too worried about it, because his team is looking likely to move on here past the Latin America Regional Championships. Is all of ISURUS has had an unbelievable set. Everyone's really had their chance to shine, including Daelon in the support role. Played Sylvanus the first 2 games, looked phenomenal doing it. Kha'Zix, Fragger, Smitero, Beltway, they've all looked like they could really make some noise here this weekend.
Trying to find some sort of action though. Valorous, they're not shy of trying to go for these plays, but I feel like they're going for these plays at inopportune moments, always overcommitting under towers without any sort of player advantage. You know, if you find a pick in the jungle side, then you can really roll with it, but now it's gotten them into a position where they're down 14,000 gold, having to defend their last remaining Phoenixes against ISURUS that has that Fire Giant buff for an additional 2.5 minutes.
No towers remaining for Valorous either, so ISURUS can go right down whatever lane they choose and look immediately for the Phoenixes. Smitero and zByRocKk going at it by the speed buff. That Typhoon Aegis out by the jungler, but here comes the rotation. Beltway has that blink. Daelon looking to catch up. The blink, the 1, the 2, the double digits now for Beltway. 10, 0, and 15 out of the solo lane. Fragger finds FORZA on the left, and ISURUS is just winning all over the map.
An all-star performance from the side lanes out of ISURUS, and now they're grouped up in the mid lane. They have the siege potential with the sustain from this raw. Atarban trying to zone his best efforts. Finding the stun is Beltway. A lot of damage committed to the Cabrakan ultimate. An easy spill here, getting locked into the cage, and here come the ghosts.
But Kha'Zix is falling a little bit too low. Smitearo does find the kill onto Atarban. Kha'Zix using that heal to get himself back and healthy. Has the snipe ready to go and hits Chetaah with it. Almost takes him down until Smitearo does chase him all the way to the fountain. Deicide and ISURUS, they take down Valorous in 3 easy games. Moving on, they're the champions of Latin America in the spring split.
The teamwork out of ISURUS, 32-7. These are your Latin American champions. Congratulations. They will be against Black Dragons to end the day.
That's going to be an exciting set, but they've got to try and refocus. That's a tough ask to play a best of 5. Even when you do win 3-0 like that, that is best case scenario for this team to try and conserve their energy for a set later on today.
Sure, but it's a best of 5 that went heavily in their favor, so they didn't have to expend too much of the energy. Not only that, they're going to be on a break as we're going to get into the next set, energy against LG Dire Wolves. And then that best of 5 that they just played is going to turn into a best of 3 against Black Dragons. So all they have to do is just focus on those 3 games to get into day number 2.
And they've got a lot of momentum going. And plus, I think that we can safely say that ISURUS didn't have to show a lot there against Valorous. They probably have some strategies ready to go in case that set would have started to go the other way. And now they can save those up against Black Dragons. Should be an interesting set there. But first, we got to break down the one we just saw. Tom's on the desk to tell you exactly how ISURUS pulled it off.
11-0-17. Cabrakan doing the things. This really was the story of ISURUS just being absolutely dominant. We know that Valorous is over-aggressive and over-offensive, but this time around, they're the ones getting offended, as they will be sitting on the sidelines, and your Latin American regional victors are ISURUS. They will be going on to play against Black Dragons later on, but right now, we'll celebrate their win.
And Atarban, you brought it up before the game even began, but raw on Nas, and that's just absolutely beautiful gameplay all around. The snipes completely on point, the healing also there, but it's really just the damage all around.
There's just something so satisfying seeing people who can play these characters with the snipes. The real hype ults, and Noz is that guy through and through. I really just want to see him throughout the rest of the tournament. Keep playing characters like Ra, keep playing characters like Toth, because it's so much fun to watch, and he's so good at it that he brings these characters up a tier because of it.
It's fun watching him play the Ra because, somebody brought up, I think, at the world stage saying, excuse me, it was Gauntlet talking about Wolfie's Ra. And they said, look, man, maybe they should have picked some anti-heal to fight it. He's not using the character as a healer or a sustain comp. He's just using it because that ults up all the time. He's accurate with the Searing Pain and all of the abilities, and he's just using it like a burst mage.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, with the Season 4 changes to Ra, he did reduce his healing and gives protections instead now. And really, the only way Ra works is if you can hit those snipes. And when you can't, he's such a night and day character, he's so perfect, so amazing if you can hit it. And if you can't, then he's a wet noodle, and Noz is a player that hits.
I mean, does 7,000 more damage than his opposing mid laner.
It's just the cherry on top. Having the healing is just, it's great if it's there, but when you can land those snipes and secure that damage, you're ultimately just providing so much burst to your team because of it.
I mean, it's for me, it's just two separate ideas. I think the sustain composition is absolutely still there. Ra can totally be a healer. That's totally well and good. But you don't have to pick the characters for that. And, players like Kha'Zix at Worlds and Wolfie showed us from Rival that this character does have just a raw mage appeal. You can just be the guy that's firing at home like his little brother Thoth. That's where the character really comes from. And we see Kha'Zix out here on these long-range snipes, and he's really, really able to do it well. Standing by, we have an interview with one of the players from the winning team, ISURUS, right on next to Aggro.
Thank you very much, Tom. This is Fragger, the hunter for ISURUS. And Fragger, your entire team had a dominant performance there. How do you feel after that quick 3-0?
I'm feeling really confident, actually.
Yeah? Do you guys think that you have a favorable matchup against Black Dragons later today?
We studied them a lot, and I think that we really prepared and picks and bans. We know that we can win the game just in drafts.
Well, talk to me about some of the drafts that you had in that set up against Valorous, because the Cernunnos was first pick for them early on in Game 1. You played it in Game 3. This is a god that you've practiced with a lot. Where do you think he ranks among the ADCs?
I think he's really good in the role, but there are better ADCs. But we actually planned that they pick Cernunnos. We made that pick in the first game, so we can give it with us Sylvanus and Humbats.
Well, the Sylvanus and Humbats definitely worked out. Basically, everyone from ISURUS it had a great set. Everyone had their chance to shine. How nice is that, knowing that even if you're having an off game, then your jungler, your mid laner, anything like that can really start to carry you instead.
It's amazing, man. I'm with 4 players that play at his best level, and we just want to win all if we can.
Well, you did it. You did a great job. The quick 3-0 victory there for you guys in that set. And you're going up against Black Dragons later. Good luck in that match. Do you have any shout-outs before we let you go?
Shout out to my friends, my family that is watching the games, and all the Latam South fans, man.
That's awesome, man. Well, all of Latam South certainly proud of the performance you put on so far here today. But we got one set before you go back on, and then we can throw it to Tom on the desk to break down Energy versus LG Direwolves.